Hello, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Got my voice cracked like puberty, and your neck winced.
Yeah, it
We're
did.
13 and 70 all at once.
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
How are you doing?
A little
Are you a little
sore.
sore?
Yeah.
Foraging trip gone wrong?
Rugby game. It was a delight and painful, but had a lot of fun. Bruises are popping up the next day and a little tight in some places. So, but all in all, really, really fun. We won by a lot. So it's good stuffs.
It's a good, healthy outlet for your aggression.
It
This
is.
podcast and rugby, I think that's
Absolutely.
perfect. Yeah, good balance.
Yeah. I'm with
All right.
you.
Do you have any huge updates, or would you like to
Oh
hop right into
man,
your tea?
huge updates. I don't think so. What about you? No sound effects today?
No sound effects today. That was just a special Halloween thing. I got nothing for
Yes, we're
today.
back to, we're in November. The leaves are blowing, and you can still have pumpkin stuff if you want, but
Oh, wow.
Halloween's
She's really
over.
relaxed the rules. I don't know if you guys appreciate how much of a concession that is for her.
I really enjoy pumpkin things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're back to just regular old murder, no signs of a
Are
ghost.
you so depressed? You love spooky season.
A little bit. Yeah. I
Yeah,
was like, "Ugh, all right.
fine. No more
Just put a body in a
witchies.
trunk and call it a day.
God, not the trunk.
Yeah.
Okay. Today we have another plum deluxe tea. The other one was the Heritage, the Scottish tea, which was
Mm.
recommended by a listener, and it's really good. So I got another one of theirs that they recommended. This one is a mango almond oolong. So it's a oolong tea, black tea, mango, calendula, and then almond essence. So that'll be interesting. I didn't add milk because oolong is typically a very delicate tea, so we don't like to, interrupt its complexities.
Wow.
Smells like almond. It's a very smooth tea, almost like a buttery, creamy start, and it's very
Mm.
nice on the palate. The flavors are very delicate. I'm not really getting the mango. Well, there's a little bit of a brightness, so that must be it, but it's not like a strong mango, which I can appreciate in a hot tea. You know me and fruity teas.
Yeah.
Ooh. This is a creamy thumbs up. It's very nice.
Gross.
I think the almonds really help it, that makes sense. Like almond
Yes. I
milk.
don't love that descriptor for something that doesn't have actual cream in it.
Well,
It's sound.
you could put half and half in it. I'm sure it'd be still good.
Oh, I would. It would be half and half. Got a problem. One of us will have a heart problems. Knock on wood. Just kidding.
One of us will have arthritis in bones.
Check. I already do. I'm 1,000. I'm a
Awkward.
grandma. Not actually,
Oh.
in case anyone was wondering. Yeah, my son is 6. So okay.
Got a few more years.
Yeah, hopefully got plenty. All right, here we
Lordy.
go. You ready for today?
I don't know. You can only
Yeah.
know.
No, you're fine. It'll
Okay.
be just the right amount of hatred and vengeance
Oh, okay. Get me
to
fired up.
make you. Yeah, I think
Cool.
you'll end this with like, all right, okay. June 28th, 1959,
Mm.
Gadsden, Alabama.
Mm.
A torso is found off of Route 11.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah,
just a torso.
just a torso. From the remains, authorities could determine the victim was a white male. Cause of death, gunshot wound to the face.
Oh, personal.
However, the face is so badly disfigured that identification is impossible.
Gross.
No arms, no legs are found near the body. Coroner estimates the murder occurred within 24 hours of being discovered. And the man's height is said to be around 5'8" or 5'9", weighing approximately 170 pounds, ranging in age from 40 to 50. Black hair peppered with gray that had been recently cut. A local farmer by the name of O.P. Holiday stumbled upon this grisly scene when he was out picking berries.
Oh, foraging gone wrong. That's
That's what
foraging gone wrong.
that's exactly what I wrote. And then I it's like, "Sir,
No.
get to the supermarket, okay?" He probably is a supermarket, though. He probably has if he's a farmer, he probably has a berry stand, and he was
Yeah.
probably out getting his yeah, he's saving other people from this. Anyway, the
Oh,
following day,
how do you
June
recover from that?
29th, the Parlow family in a neighboring county about 10 to 15 miles away from the first discovery stumbles across, guess what?
Another body part.
A second torso.
Oh,
Again, the victim's a white male who has been shot in the face.
whoa.
Just like with the first man, who they are now calling Mr. X,
Mr.
there's no chance
X.
of identification based off of the condition. They named the second victim
Jesus.
Mr. Y, and from examination, believe that the two men knew each other and had even had supper together hours before their deaths.
Supper together.
Yeah, dinner? Is that you laughing at the word supper?
Yeah.
Oh, is that not something you say?
I think it is. It's a regional thing.
Oh, well, it's you know what? It's a wicked good time, so leave me alone in my New England ideals.
I think it belongs in the South. I think you're right.
Yeah, whatever.
We're in
With
Bama.
no idea who these men are or why they were murdered, a search party of over 100 people start looking for the arms and legs.
Oh, no. I don't
Right?
know
Could
if
you
I would join
imagine?
that. I'm sorry. Like,
Right?
I'm fervent for justice, but I'll find the killer instead of the arms.
You're not gonna do any good. The person's already dead. I wouldn't want to stumble
They're
across that
very
either. I mean,
dead.
I suppose it's gonna help with identification, and that's obviously the thread that
Yeah.
they're
I'll
pulling on,
take
but
a
still.
different job in this.
They do not find any body parts.
Phew.
However, they do locate a wallet with an ID that fits the description that the coroner had given.
For Mr. X?
Police
Okay.
pull up the name on the license and they find that the man also has a brother roughly around the same age. So this is a great lead.
Oh.
They call the house. Both men are alive and well. The guy's wallet just happened to have been stolen a few days before.
Oh, man.
Complete red herring dead end. They also have tire tracks at the scene, but the soil is too dry to make plaster mold, so they're unable to identify the vehicle. Another dead end.
Jeez. Dang it.
As the search continues, they continue to look for body parts. The current working theory is that a gambling or a bootlegging operation has gone wrong, and that
Oh.
these men were shot in the mouth as a sign to
Oh.
others not to talk.
Whoa. In Alabama, this is not happening in New Jersey or anything with the mafia.
Well, Route 11 is on the way from, I think it went from New Orleans to New Jersey or something. So it could be anybody along that
Ah,
path.
I see.
So they're not even sure how to narrow it down.
Okay.
Well, as I
Wow.
mentioned, the two men had dinner together and because they had the same food in their stomachs. Tomato and onions were still left in their stomachs.
I wonder what they had.
They think that the second man was forced to watch the first be murdered because they have possible evidence of rope marks on the torso.
Oh.
They say that the limbs had been expertly removed.
Stop.
And they're continuing to search fields, wells, abandoned homes. Nothing. They bring in a sketch artist to make a composite and release a description of the men as best they can. Mr. X is described by the Birmingham News as heavy features, rather thin lips, hazel brown eyes with thin eyebrows, high forehead, olive complexion. In the same paper, Mr. Y's face is described as double chin with massive jowls, full mouth, prominent nose with pointed quality, eyes
Whoa.
brown but heavy and sunken, very prominent forehead, and prominent bone across eyes, thick neck.
Okay. Let's pause here for a second and appreciate how far we've come in the few hundred years where before one of our victims was described as looks uneducated and like she used to be pretty.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. Yes, these are
We're getting better. Good job,
actual
guys.
descriptors. But I wrote, I don't think this would be helpful unless I had something missing and was looking for it.
What do you mean?
I don't think I could put this together and say, oh, that's Bob down the street.
But aren't sketch artists really good at doing that? Sketch artists who can like pull all those details and put that. Unless we're
Yeah.
getting again the sketch artists that we've seen in the past.
Yeah. No, I will say this sketch artist was pretty good.
Okay.
I can post those pictures, but I mean, it's a little funky. They look a little off
Yeah.
just based off of the fact that he has nothing to go on. But
Right.
yes, they are
Okay.
in a ballpark, right?
Good job, guys.
By July 2nd, the men are buried, and Reverend Denson Franklin says they are only known to God and to the men who killed them.
Mm.
Still no idea who they are. After the autopsy, investigators don't really have a next clue until the clothes on Mr. X are examined. Mr. Y was nude, but Mr.
Oh.
X had on underwear and an undershirt.
Okay.
Both were identified by the owner of a garment company, and the clothes were a size 36, had been sold as a set on sale in May. With this, police believe the victims were from Northeast Alabama, so it helps them narrow down the region.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Because remember, they weren't sure. It goes
Yeah,
all the
because
way
it
to
was
New
on the
Jersey.
route. Yeah.
Yep. Every day, the papers are running with the story and making a public plea for help. In the July 8th edition of the Birmingham News, the paper runs, in part, the following: "Your help needed. Clues still sought to torso identities. Unless you help, the search for identities of 2 brutal torso murder victims may take a long time. Though investigators have sound leads on the murder case, the killer left little by which names of the dead men could be traced."
Hmm.
And this is like a little subset under the article. So they're putting these pleas for help all over, trying to get people involved.
Okay.
And it's tucked that day under an article that said the search for the men was now focused on an area named Sand Mountain, because a witness had heard somebody yell, "Don't shoot," from the woods the night of the murder. So they're chasing that down. Now, if you remember, the men have already been buried
Yep.
on July 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
July 9th, the state changes their mind and buys a
No.
freezer that will
No.
allow them to be frozen in case they can be identified later.
It's too late.
The location of their freezer is kept secret to stop crowds from forming to look at it.
What? That's
Rumors
bizarre.
are running wild. Every person who has gone away for vacation or moved away recently might be the victims. They have chased down so many tips. There's an old man and his son who are secluded and keep to themselves. That must be them. Nope, they're alive. There's 2 brothers who moved away a few years ago. That must be them. Nope, they're in Birmingham. 2 men who left for
Ay.
California. That must be them. Nope,
Nope.
they're in California. They're just not able to find
Yeah.
who these people are, and they still cannot find the arms and legs.
But were they BSing about the finding the killer?
They didn't find the killer. What are you talking about?
In the newspaper thing that you read,
Yeah.
they said something like, "Oh, we have like promising leads on the murder itself."
On the
but they're
murder
not-
case, but
Yeah.
the killer left little behind.
Okay.
So they're saying they have some leads that they're investigating, but they don't
They don't
know
know.
who these men are, and that's what they're
Yeah.
really trying to go for. The governor offers a reward. Some sources say 1,000, some say 1,500. Either way, a reward is out there. The original bootleg gambling
Mhm.
theory isn't holding up. By the 12th of July, the papers are reporting that they believe the crime was not spur of the moment, but something thought out and motivated by pure hatred.
Oh, well, I mean, some things add up. Yeah.
A psychiatrist working on a similar case suspects the killer is in fact a woman, which
Oh.
is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
The Birmingham News reports he or she knew what was going to be done and when. So this is the first
Ah.
time you see introduction that they even consider the killer's not another man.
Okay.
A few days later, test results come back from the state toxicologist. They are able to determine a name on the label of the clothing that reads Lee space H-A blank blank E-R. Some of the letters were missing. Lee Harper had
Hey.
been reported missing from his job at the Army Ordnance Depot, and a state trooper had located the address almost at the same time without any connection. These things suddenly just fall into place. With that, they're able to go to a man named Bob Harper, who is fairly certain after seeing the composite sketches that the victims are in fact Lee Harper, age 55, and Emmett Harper, age 48, both World War II vets who happened to be his brothers.
Oh my God. That's devastating.
With these clues, they head to Harper Brothers' house. They live in a trailer about the size of the average bathroom.
What?
That's what it said. That sits on a farm in White Plains. The farm belongs to M.B. Hyatt. My first assumption was that they rented the trailer, but M.B. Hyatt will later say that he was not paid, nor did he give permission for the brothers to park the trailer on the property.
Oh.
Curious. When officers arrive at the farm, they find Mr. Hyatt and his wife along with his 30-year-old daughter, Viola Hyatt. The family said that the Harpers did live in the trailer, which is about 40 yards from the house. There's different sources say different things. Some say it's a few inches, some say it's 100 feet.
Okay.
It's behind the house. And they had lived there, again, sources vary. Some say a year, some say up to 5 years. So they'd been there a minute. And they were currently on vacation visiting their family. Something doesn't sit right with the police, and they continue to look around the farm. For starters, the door to the trailer has shotgun blasts in it.
It's a little weird.
Mr. Hyatt says that's been there a while from previous hunting season, and he goes right back to feeding the chickens. The man is completely unfazed.
Did you say that they didn't give permission to them to be in that area?
That's what Mr. Hyatt says later, and you'll see how they came to
Because
be
then
there.
that's weird.
It is a little weird. It's a weird setup. There's a lot of questions that'll come out later that I'm not sure.
Okay.
We're not going to solve this today.
Okay. Bummer.
So Mr. Hyatt is cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
Not worried at all. He's got
No.
chickens to feed. He's got chores to do. He's either feeding the chickens or just sitting on the porch watching them, staring at them without any expression. However, his daughter Viola is not as calm. She starts to go back and forth on her story a little bit, making investigators suspicious. She seems to get upset and reach a breaking point, and then she'll pull back every time and say she doesn't know anything at all. She's just scared.
How old is she again?
30. By 7:30 that night, the entire Hyatt family is brought down to the station. Mrs. Hyatt said to nap in the car. So she's
What?
not worried either, I guess. She's
What?
like, I'm going to go.
That's a weird choice.
I'm going to go catch some Z's. You guys good? Bye.
That's the most bizarre thing.
I thought so too. I mean, first off, it's only 7:30. I know you're a farmer, but even I go to bed later than that.
If
And
any of
two,
my
aren't
family
you
has to go to
concerned?
right, if they have to go to the police station, I'm not taking a nap. I'm pacing outside or I'm waiting in the waiting room. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. So,
That's
I don't
weird.
know. I don't know if a reporter actually followed her out to the car and watched her REM cycle. So maybe she just said that to get away and get out of the station. But
Maybe.
that's what was reported. Mr. Hyatt is questioned and he sticks to his story. He says, the men are on vacation.
In the freezer.
I don't know what to tell you. They're not my problem. Viola points the finger at an old flame named Dewey Carroll, who is immediately brought in for questioning. He has no idea what's going on. Doesn't know what Viola's talking about.
Poor guy just gets roped in.
Yeah, he is completely confused. He has to stay there for about 5 hours until 2:30 a.m. that morning. Viola breaks down and she confesses. She says that Saturday night, June 27th, she shot both brothers in the face, dragged their bodies outside, stripped their clothes, cut off their arms and legs with an axe because they were too heavy to carry otherwise. And they wouldn't fit in the car. She places the remains in a wheelbarrow and carries them to the car. She acted completely alone. Dewey wasn't even in her life at this point, and so he's cleared. She then drove the whiskey trails, tossing out limbs randomly.
What the fuck?
And then leaving the torsos near places off the road, which happened to be near 2 abandoned buildings that she didn't know were even abandoned.
No.
In the morning light, she's escorted by the officers to the farm and she shows them the blood-stained axe, which is buried in a field. She walks them through the events of that night. The police find blood evidence on the inside of Lee's car and on the ground outside of their trailer. With Viola's information, they're also able to recover other body parts. but not the ones she had thrown off the bridge.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. What did
Yeah.
she shot them with a shotgun to the face?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense why they were not recognizable.
Yeah. Yeah. The question on everyone's mind is,
Why?
yeah, Viola admits that she and Lee, the older brother, were an item. She said they planned to be married. Now, the article in the Birmingham News says no clear motive has been established, but the same paper in a front page article says, and this is a quote, the motive given by the woman for the killings was that her boyfriend, the older brother, allegedly committed an unnatural sex act while his brother threatened her with a knife. That seems like a clearer motive to me.
I guess the editor was out that day. She put all this stuff together.
This was such a big story. There could be 5 articles,
I'm sure.
different articles in the same paper.
But usually like the top person like will review it all
Yeah.
to make it seamless.
Yeah. Now, by the next day, that motive is no longer the only one published. Investigators claim that in addition to the alleged sexual assault, Viola has given other reasons at various times, which include the men abused her elderly father, the men drank too much, or her and Lee got in a fight over Lee's car. I don't know that she's lying about any of them. Maybe all those things happened, and she just was explaining different moments in the night. I'm not sure. Mr. Hyatt continues to give his account of the night, saying he didn't hear a thing. Viola and Lee had gone to the next town, returned home around 8 p.m. After that, he didn't see Viola again until 1 or 2 in the morning when she told her father she was taking Lee and Emmett to the bus station because they're going home to visit their family. He saw her the next morning. She took Lee's car again around 8 a.m. and came back at 11. Mr. Hyatt says he knew Lee and Viola were an item. That's how Lee came to live on the property.
Okay.
Viola seems to have asked him to live on the
Okay.
property, and maybe Mr. Hyatt let it go because it was
Got it.
Viola's request, but he never paid them. There was never this agreement between Mr. Hyatt
Okay.
and Lee Harper. But in the source materials for the book Mr. X and Mr. Y, which was written by the journalist Donald Brown, Hyatt implies he'd never let Viola marry Lee because Lee had been married before, and he was planning on kicking the brothers off of the property
But
because they
okay.
were pretty heavy drinkers and they were
Yeah.
too rough, he said. Mr. Hyatt also confirms that Viola is a good shot. He taught her himself when she was just 7.
Wow.
Her mother died in 1935. Viola was only 5.
Wow.
And even though he remarried the next year, Viola followed her dad around everywhere he went.
Oh.
And he is really struggling with the fact that she might be taken from him.
Yeah.
He claims the only reason she didn't come get him that night is because she wouldn't have wanted him to get in trouble.
Yeah, to protect him.
But can you guess the next question after why? Can you guess the next question that everybody asks?
I mean, I guess not how, but
Yeah. How could a woman do this?
I mean, think how gruesome that scene is I'm trying to imagine it. I mean, I don't want to, but my brain takes over. Did you
Yeah.
spread them out, spread eagle, and then chop the limbs at the armpits? I don't know.
TMI.
I know.
It's really interesting to watch it play out on the papers. When it first breaks, they print a picture of Viola, which has become pretty infamous, where her hair is neatly combed. She's changed into a nice dress. She's wearing lipstick, and she poses in front of the house before they take her away. The next day, once they realize that she's the one who did this on her own due to her confession, they now describe her as a stocky backwoods woman. And suddenly it seems possible that she could have done this. She's the same person.
Yeah.
She just happened
People
to be in
don't
a dress with
change one day
lipstick
to the
on.
other. Yeah.
Right. And now she's a stocky backwoods woman who
I
could
mean, I
obviously
guess
do this.
I could look like a stocky backwoods woman today, and if I get made up, maybe I don't. But that's
hello.
BS.
A stocky backwoods woman can wear dresses and wear lipstick. Both things are true.
Gasp!
Is what I'm saying. The Alabama Journal interviews the neighbors of the Hyatts, who, again, the Hyatts pretty much keep to themselves. And Viola is described as friendly, jolly, and a little different. These never hold much weight for me, though, because
So
once you
funny.
know what somebody has done, it's really hard
Yes.
to not have it color your perception even.
I know. We need descriptions. Everybody needs a description now. Like, give us one just in
Just
case
on
we murder
file.
someone. Yes.
She was described as kind. She loved to read, but she dropped out of school before high school and worked with her dad on the farm. She also loved cats.
Oh,
And when she's being
same.
taken away to jail, she says goodbye to her 7 cats and 1 dog.
Oh.
One neighbor said that when the men went missing, Viola did come over to the house that Monday and Tuesday, and she kept calling Lee's place of employment, asking the supervisor to let her know when Lee returned.
So, like, covering her bases a
I
little
think she
bit.
was trying to cover an alibi,
Yeah.
but then she stopped doing that. The depot where he worked claimed that they received phone calls from a woman asking to extend Lee's vacation.
Huh.
I'm not sure if he had a vacation planned. If so, then this seems more premeditated than
Yeah.
maybe we're expecting, if he did actually have a vacation planned or if
Right.
she called in and said he was going on vacation. It's unclear to me.
Yeah.
Viola is charged with 2 counts of murder, and she's kept at the Calhoun County Jail. The police deny any press interviews. Viola's not interested in it anyway, and the only visitor Viola has at the start is her minister. Although it's believed her father was just having trouble getting there due to transportation because he comes and visits her a lot later on.
Oh.
In the Birmingham Post-Herald, Sheriff Roy C. Sneed describes Viola as cool as a cucumber on a cool morning.
Well, here we go.
However, the next day, the Anniston Star reports that Viola is starting to seem nervous, not eating or getting out of bed. Her trial is set for the end of September, and she has still not retained a lawyer.
Why? Girl, get a public defender.
As the trial approaches, the papers go back and forth on the version of Viola that's unaffected, saying at one point that she's nervous and not eating, saying at another that she's eating heartily. Constantly peppered with descriptors about her size and that she still remains plump or chunky
Oh,
constantly.
boy.
Can you imagine how they would describe a man in this situation or even a rich, beautiful woman?
Right.
Right? They would be strong. They would be capable. They would be,
Yeah.
I don't know what other descriptors are, but they make it seem as though it's
Hmm.
she shouldn't be plump and chunky anymore. That must mean she's eating and she shouldn't be eating.
Oh, boy.
It's like, yeah, I mean, what do you want here? The portrayal of her is fascinating because they seem to be judging her for staying calm, but then at the same time, they're judging her if she does talk.
Yeah.
Right? Look, there's nothing wrong with her. She talked to an inmate today
How are they getting this info?
from the sheriff. Oh, then she's not really talking to us. She's withdrawn. It's like, guys, I
No,
don't
I
know what
mean,
you
she's
want
never
from her.
going to win.
No. A week before trial, Viola is admitted to Bryce Hospital for a court-ordered psych evaluation,
Uh-oh.
mostly because she refuses to talk to her now court-appointed lawyers.
Okay.
This is expected to last about a month, pushing the original trial date now.
Mm-hmm.
The time frame is wildly underestimated, though, because Viola is kept there through February of 1960
Whoa.
and was officially deemed sane and competent for a trial, which is now set to start March 14th.
Jeez, they're really drawing this out.
At her arraignment, she enters a plea of innocent by reason of insanity.
Huh.
The trial opens that day, but it is not what the crowd expected. Viola decides to change her plea to guilty in exchange for a life sentence.
Instead of execution?
The prosecution agrees. Yeah. And just like that, the trial is over, which everybody is very upset about
Wow.
because they wanted the details to last for days. It only took an hour.
They wanted the drama
Yep.
because y'all are sickos.
Viola was set to serve 2 life sentences. In exchange, she's avoiding the death penalty.
Okay.
Her lawyers seem as happy as you can be about this outcome because Viola had refused to talk to them, never sharing any details about what happened. When they asked her about the reported abuse that initially came out that first night, all she would say was, "It's worse than that," and never speak of it again.
I have like a bad feeling.
I know. Her father was devastated at the news, quoted as saying in the Birmingham News, "I'll tell you this, I ain't gonna get her out of there if I live. Me and that girl was real close."
Ugh.
So what do you think is happening? Was she covering for her father who actually shot the men? Were her and her father in this together? Was she defending herself? Was she just mad at something that you shouldn't have been mad about? What do you think happened?
I think something bad happened and maybe she's ashamed because that always happens even today where victims are ashamed of what happened to them even though it's not their fault. And then she took action to get revenge and I can't fault her for that. I don't know about the dad. he must have heard the shotgun. I
I
mean,
know, I have a hard
those
time
are
believing
really loud
he didn't hear, and then all of the effort of
of
actually having to
chopping them.
dismember the bodies in the car going in and out. I have a hard time believing.
I wonder if he did help her, but you'd think that he would want to protect her and say, like, no, I did this. You know what I mean? Because he seems like so close.
There are theories that he did it and she was the one who protected him.
But I feel like he would fight against that and say, no, she's just lying.
Well, there are conspiracy theories about her father too. The relationship was said to be uncomfortably close. In the same source notes for the book I mentioned earlier, there's a note that says the two shared not only a bedroom, but a bed.
That's a real thing? Or is that just.
That's what it says in the notes, that they shared a bed and they shared a bedroom and there was a single bed in the bedroom. Not, I think, like one bed, not a twin bed, but a bed. So was there something going on there that Viola had to survive?
Oh, God.
I don't know. It's a very sparse note. It's just notes that say shared room with father, single bed, and then it said father was ill. Viola was good at waiting on people, something like that.
Where's the
So
wife?
I don't know. That's my question. They don't really dive into it. Was it a temporary situation? Was the father recently sick and that's currently the setup? Did Viola have to help him in the middle of the night and that's the setup? Was something wrong with the wife? I don't understand it. But I'm throwing that out there as maybe he had her take the fault, or maybe she did it because it was more than just that night that happened to her. Or maybe the Harper brothers didn't do anything, and
Wow.
I don't know. There's a secret there.
There
But
is.
whatever it is, Viola was keeping it to herself.
Yeah.
Once in prison, Viola is described as
Ugh.
cooperative and pleasant by the prison superintendent.
She's 30 years old in prison for the rest of her life.
She joined the softball team, worked in the
Oh,
factory on
cute.
a sewing machine, had few visitors. Her father became ill after she was sentenced, and Viola was actually allowed to visit him in the hospital that summer with a guard.
Mm-hmm.
And her father would pass away in May of 1961 in his sleep at the farmhouse. Viola was allowed to go to the funeral.
Okay.
In 1970, Viola was actually granted parole
Oh.
and was released at age 40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the 2 life sentences just down to 10 years.
Wow.
Viola lived the rest of her life quietly,
No, I want you to say things.
out of the spotlight until her death in 2000
Wow.
at the age of 71. Even though she rejected notoriety, she made an impact in subtle ways. She became a constant fixture and affectionately was called the mayor of Tuckaway Village, which was the mobile
Huh?
park that she lived in for the rest of her life.
Oh.
She called on neighbors that were sick. She kept a protective eye on neighbors. She talked to everybody that she came across. And just like she did when she was a child, Viola loved to read. And she continued to do so on her front porch. But instead of magazines or books, she would often be seen reading the Bible after she was released.
Hmm.
The old farmhouse she grew up in sat abandoned for nearly a decade. Of course,
Yeah.
I didn't mean for this to be a spooky interjection, but there were stories always about it being haunted and the missing bones on the property and all that stuff.
What about the wife?
She died the day Viola was released from prison.
Whoa.
Yeah. There were legends that came up about how Viola was so mean that the stepmother died of fright, that Viola was so mean her mother died in
Mm,
childbirth. But that's not actually true. Viola's mother died when she was 5.
yeah.
I don't know how Mrs. Hyatt felt about her stepdaughter.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. So the old farmhouse was actually purchased by a couple and they wanted to renovate it. And they spoke to Viola a lot about its history because she was the best source of it. And they grew to love their talks with Viola, saying her humor
Hmm.
and wit were present in every conversation.
Hmm.
Those that were close to Viola in her later years had chosen to forgive her. One man was reported as saying, "If the Lord could forgive her, then so could I." But there are plenty of people who viewed her as a cold-blooded murderess. And it's not until recently, in 2019, students at Florida State University portrayed another possible version of what happened that night. It's a short film. I'll link it.
Oh, wow.
It's on YouTube, and it's about 10 minutes. They show a scenario where Viola was assaulted and chose to fight back. I don't recommend it for you, Alana,
No, I
but
absolutely will not watch that.
yeah. So we are never going to know what truly happened that night, but there is more to that story than Viola would ever care to share. What are you thinking?
So people were saying that it was premeditated. So I'm trying to think about that. Like,
I know.
okay,
That's
is
why I
she
wonder.
fighting back against something? Did it happen? And then the next day she's like, I'm going to fucking get these guys. The rope, right? Weren't there rope
They
marks?
never mentioned that again. I think that was probably not the case. That seems harder to me to believe that she would have been able to tie the men up on her own because it's 2 against 1 or even 1 against 1 at that moment. I think
Unless the
that
dad
she
was
she could have
involved.
tied ropes around them to drag them afterwards.
Oh, that's a good point. Huh.
And the way the movie portrays it is the assault happened. She left the trailer and just went into her house, got the gun, and went back to the trailer
Okay. So
like
that's not
instantly.
premeditated.
So not premeditated, but it wasn't in the moment. It was
Yeah.
after it had happened. That's how the movie portrays it. But again, we'll never know. This could have been something. Lee could have been abusing her for a long time, and she hit a breaking point.
Wow.
We don't know. Lee was, by his family account, Lee was said to be kind. They're World War II vets, but everybody around them said they had a very significant drinking problem.
Yeah. They didn't seem like the best of men, but we don't really know them
We don't really
very
know,
well.
and they kept to themselves too. That's why nobody noticed they were missing. The only people who would know they were missing would be the Hyatts.
Yeah.
At the very least, I think Mr. Hyatt knew
What happened?
and was either choosing to protect his daughter or was letting his daughter take the fall for him. I
Oof.
think she probably did it though.
I mean, if she's a farm girl, like they are strong.
So I don't like to listen to other podcast episodes on stuff sometimes because I don't want it to affect how I tell the story. But
Oh,
after I
yeah.
did all the research, I listened to Southern Fried True Crime, which I love
Oh
now.
my God, that's an amazing name.
I know. And the woman does a great job. So I'm going to put the link in the source notes just in case you want to listen to it. She does a really great job of telling the story. And that's one of the things that she was saying. She said, Viola is like 170 pounds. She's tall and
Yeah.
she's worked on a farm her whole life.
She'd
She
be,
butchered
yeah.
pigs. She knows how to
Right.
shoot a gun. She's carried heavy loads.
She'd be a great rugby player, honestly.
She would. And she would be strong. She would be as strong as
Yes.
most men.
Yeah. So, yeah, she totally could, but sorry.
Yeah, it's
She
gross.
could do that. I always just think of Leonardo. She'll never leave my brain.
Well, yeah, she didn't make soap, that's for sure.
Just fertilizer. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's offensive.
yeah.
Wow. There's absolutely more to the story, and I don't
Mhm.
again, is she not saying more cuz she's ashamed, or is she protecting someone, or both? Like, that's really hard, and you'll see it time and time again, especially in like sexual assault cases where it's just like, I mean, the layers of emotions are
Yeah,
crippling.
yeah. Think of the time period you're in.
Yeah. Still not great.
It's still not great today. Think of the time
No.
period you're in back then, and at this point, what's done is done. What is
What's the
going
point?
Viola going to get from it? She doesn't want any attention. She doesn't wanna be
Maybe
in the spotlight.
sympathy? Like, I was
She
attacked.
doesn't want anyone's sympathy. She just wants to be left alone and live her life and
But she
read
could have
books and have
I
cats.
mean, she got out with 10 years, but she didn't know that at the time, but do you think she could have gotten a lighter sentence if it was a form of self-defense?
Probably. I think
And
she made the choice to say, I'm not going to share that painful event that happened to me and have everybody know about it. I want to keep it private. And instead, I'll get out in 10 years. Cool.
uh-huh.
If I don't get out in 10 years, fine. I rather risk that than have everybody know about that personal business because it was so awful.
Shit, man.
There are also accounts that a lot came out afterward that said Viola had a really bad temper.
It's hard to believe those.
I know it really is.
Again, like, I wish we all had a file before we're accused for
I
something,
know.
because like everything gets tainted, and who knows the quality of journalism? Like, all the
I
things
know.
where it's like, and the farther and farther away we get in time, the harder it is to parse like what was real.
I have a hard time with the accounts of, oh, she had such a bad temper. taking a shotgun and shooting 2 people in the face is more than a bad temper, and if
No.
that's the only bad temper moment in Viola's life that anybody can give, then I
That's
have a hard time
calculating.
believing that it was a
Yeah.
bad temper because
Agreed.
there would have been events like that before, and there would have been
Exactly.
events like that after.
And it was precise. Like a shotgun, first of all, is terrible aim just because of the way it's built. Second of all, like you're shooting it very specifically in their face. Like that's as personal as you can get. Like there's a difference between a temper problem and just hatred, revenge.
Yeah.
One is like you said, like systemic, and one's like an acute act.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always comes out after. Oh, she had such a bad temper. Or like, oh,
Yeah.
look how stocky she is.
It's just so unnecessary to constantly refer to her as plump,
They're
as if
trying
it's a
to
bad
paint
thing.
it. Yeah.
Who cares? That has literally nothing to do with what she did.
Right?
And, it drives me nuts.
Huh. Well, for some reason, I don't hate her. I'm not like terrified of her like
I
Leonardo.
know. I know.
Because you can just sense it. You know something went
Something
wrong.
else was
And
going on.
I hate the men for that.
It was either something to do with her father or something to do with the Harper brothers that we
Hashtag
don't have the
men.
full story on.
Yep.
And we're never going to. And that was what her
Oh,
wish, and that's what she wanted. And she just lived out
wow.
the rest of her life quietly, was her choice.
I wonder if
Yeah.
she had any relationships,
I don't think so.
romantic relationships, because she was only 40.
I know.
You could have so many.
I have so many, one a year.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It seemed that she was pretty isolated. She lived with an aunt and uncle
Okay.
for a minute, and then, obviously in her later life, she lived alone because
Yeah.
she was the lovingly referred to as the mayor of her mobile park.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people who knew her had no problems with her.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a big piece missing, and I think it
Yeah.
is very dark.
A big dark piece missing
Ugh.
that it had already been done. There was nothing she was going to gain from it being known that was worth her
Yep.
while, so she just
Wow.
let it go. That is the story of Viola Hyatt. These stories are always billed as just these evil, evil women, but most of the time when you look under the headlines, there's so much more to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost never these Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Almost never. For sure it is.
We have
Some.
encountered some.
Yes.
But no, but it's
Jolly
important to
Jane,
do
we know you're
these
there.
stories where it's like you're digging in a little bit and like giving these people like personhood almost, where it's like this is a real person. Like, yeah, she did some heinous shit, but we don't know what happened, and she was a person before this, and
Yeah, and
so I
after
think
this.
it's so important that you like, props to you for like digging into this and fleshing out a real story than, oh, this plump girl killed some dudes.
Yeah, and she was evil, and she was
Yeah.
awful, and I mean, it was a rough moment for sure.
Sure.
Not a great day.
No, that would be a terrible day in my book.
But it's so crazy to me that you could remove one day from a human being and they would have a totally different
Yes.
memory for everybody else. That is what is so
Yes.
interesting to me, because you'd have to remove years off of Ted Bundy for him to be a different
Yeah.
person, right? It was peppered throughout everything he did.
Correct.
But this is just one day. It's just one
It's
day
just
in
one
her
day.
life that happened. And if you take that out, you have a very different, quiet,
Mm-hmm.
smart, introverted,
Cat-loving.
animal-loving farm girl who lived with her parents. That's what you have. But you add this one
Exactly.
day in, and it's this evil murderess.
Right.
And it's just fascinating. I mean, obviously, you shouldn't murder people, but we'll never know the secrets behind Viola Hyatt.
Wow. It's like you say, like they're either perfect angels or they're evil wenches.
Yeah.
I'm probably more on the evil wench side.
You like to think so.
And you're probably on the perfect angel side.
Angle. I'm a perfect angle. I'm
You
perfect
are.
90-degree angle. Look at me,
That
Ben.
triangle, baby.
Well, yeah. Viola Hyatt falls into the like claw-fingered kitty
Right?
vibe
Like,
for me.
what?
Not the Jolly Jane category.
No,
There are
no,
two
no,
very
no, no, no,
distinct
no.
women we see.
No, no, no.
Not the Mary Creighton, not the Jolly Jane, but
No.
she's in this Wonder what happened that day vibe for me.
You can very easily sense the difference immediately in the stories. It's just so clear that these are different women and different motives and different minds.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
man.
I don't know what those men did. That's a brutal way to go.
It
I will
is.
say that. But we don't have the whole story.
Well, you die quick, though.
That's true. Yeah.
It's better than being chopped up first. That's if you want to look at the bright side.
There you go. Silver lining. All
That's what I'm
right.
here
Well,
for.
do you have any last words?
1, don't murder unless it's true self-defense, like absolutely in the moment. 2,
Sure.
don't commit assault. And 3, rescue cats.
Nice.
I think if we learned anything.
Yeah. I think the moral of this story is go to your local humane society and adopt a cat and name it
Yeah.
Viola. I think she would like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I might do that. Stop.
Oh
You have
my
to stop
God.
me.
Do it.
I have too many cats.
You could never have too many cats.
Stop it.
All right, this peer pressure is going to go on for all day.
Also, side note, whoever invents a fabric that rejects pet hair and is comfortable
please.
will be a millionaire. So I just want to throw that out there to inventors.
Please.
If you could get on that.
Desperate.
Yeah, I will pre-order 100 pair of leggings in
But
that.
also for like
in black.
couches, like I have to vacuum the couch every day. I don't every other day because Noke is just the shittiest dog ever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much I brush her. I could brush her for 2 hours and she'd still have more fur to brush out.
Yes, same, Harlow. Yes.
Ugh,
Well, anyway, I just want to throw it out there.
these mutts. Yeah.
right.
we have a good mix of listeners, so get on that.
Please. All right, who should listen?
Farmers, yikes, vagrants. Let's see.
I'm just picturing what even is a vagrant? Do I know?
A vagrant is just someone who is like loitering around.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Cat lovers, Alabamers, and let's just throw in the mafia.
They cannot be called Alabamers.
What are they called? I feel like that's perfect.
I don't know what they're called, but it can't be Alabamers.
I mean, Alabamians. No, I added another thing there. Alabamers. We'll go with that.
Alabamians.
Oh, boing.
Oh, wow. Or Bammers. Did you say that?
Baby.
Oh my gosh. It's weird when you're so weird, but then also right. I really enjoy that. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. You can find us on all of the platforms at
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
You can grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a tote bag at
teatimecrimes.show.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta. Hey, there's no teats.
Got it. I hadn't hit stop yet. It's in. We should just call ourselves Teat Time Crimes the way that you're going.
Stop! Hey, you started it. You started the teats.